Hello, my name is Andy. My group and I will be sharing about our experiences in Malaysia and the cultural differences between their country and ours. My fellow groupmate Bryan will now share our experience on the first day in Malaysia.
Hello, I'm Bryan from Group 3 of the Malaysian Jog Trip, and today I'll be sharing about my experience, and the day one of our Malaysian Jog Trip. On the first day of our C21 trip, the Malaysian Geography group left for Malaysia at approximately 7 a.m. We stopped for both breakfast and lunch before starting our first activity, which was a visit to the mentally and physically disabled home. When we first arrived at the mentally and physically disabled home, we weren't able to make an impact as we were too shy to talk to them. Also, I believe that there was a difference in culture. That's why we weren't able to make an impact straight away. However, after the hours passed, many of us got used to the condition and started interacting with the residents by playing games such as throwing balls to them, and we also started to talk to them. After 3 hours at the mentally disabled home, all ACS Barker students headed to a hotel where all of us checked in. Before heading to our rooms, we are all made to do our reflections, and most of us really gained something from the mentally disabled home that day.
On the second day, we returned to the mentally disabled home. We had to refurbish the furniture, clean up the home, and repaint the damaged walls that day. We prepared our materials for the hard labor we were going to experience. Our teachers split us into groups for each section of the home. Our group was mainly in charge of the kitchen, where the walls were mostly damaged and the paint was peeling off them. Before we could start painting the walls, we had to take a few precautions, such as using moist cloth to wipe off the dust, or the paint would be uneven. This was the first time the five of us were able to paint for a good cause. We took a break and ate lunch soon after. We then took another few hours to apply the second coat of paint. When we were done, we cleaned up and mopped the kitchen floor. Our efforts were not wasted as we saw the satisfaction in our teachers and the residents in sight of our work. We went back to the hotel and reflected on what we did that day.
On the third day, we went to College Yayasan Sat School for the twinning program. We got to try batik painting and we enjoyed the experience. It was our first time doing batik painting too. After that, we went to separate classrooms to present our views between Singapore and Malaysia. Our group presented on sports in Singapore and compared how different and similar it is from the sports scene in Malaysia. After that, there were performances made by both schools to show how developed we were in the arts. The performances have also shown the many different cultures between the two countries. The activities of the day have given us the impression that the relationship between ACS and College Yayasan Sat will improve over the years. We had lunch afterwards, and they brought us to see their 100 by 300 meter swimming pool after we finished our meals. We learned that every student has to swim 10 laps before they were able to graduate. The long morning was over, and we had a tour around Shah Alam. We had seen the famous Shah Alam Stadium and the mosque there. We finally went back to the hotel, reflecting back on our day.
On the fourth day, we went sightseeing at the Batu Caves. There was a long flight of stairs which we needed to climb to get into the caves, which was quite exhausting. After that, we went to Subang Air Hub and got a tour of the building. It was an enriching experience and we left having more knowledge of the place than before. We eventually went to Sunway Pyramid to have dinner and shop for a while, after which we went back to the hotel to rest.
On the fifth day, we went to the rice mill in Malacca where the manager there briefed us on how crop yield was increased over the years by the use of technology in Malaysia. We were able to see the different stages of polishing rice. Soon after, we were on our way back to Singapore. We were disappointed that the trip was about to end. On our way back, we summarized our trip to Malaysia. Now we will talk about the differences between Singapore and Malaysia.
The population between Malaysia and Singapore has a big difference in terms of quantity. Singapore has around 3.6 million people, which is dominated by Chinese of a percentage of 77.3%, while Malaysia has a population of 27 million people, where 57% of the population are Malays. In Singapore, the indigenous people were Malays, even though the population today are mainly Chinese. These Malays were related to some of the indigenous people of Malaysia and Indonesia. People in Malaysia treat religion similarly to people in Singapore, where we practice many different religions according to our background or individual choice. One example would be that we both practice religious freedom and do not propagate over any religion. However, there are also differences between the two countries in terms of religion. Unlike Singapore, around 50% of the population in Malaysia are Muslims, while the rest are other religions, which includes Buddhists, Hindus, and Christians.